Hey friends, this week's video is about bathrooms and Johnny Manziel. It's time for
When EF talks, people.
I want to show you this bathroom. It's a gender-neutral bathroom the people of North Haven put into our church plan many years ago. A decade ago, when we moved into this building, we knew even then that bathrooms were more complex than just male and female. We have men and women's bathrooms too, of course, but overall, we don't spend a lot of time fretting about them. There's been a lot of needless and ridiculous fear-mongering about trans people and bathrooms. The claim has been made that young girls and young women are in danger because they have to share bathrooms with trans people. Recently, our lieutenant governor and our governor have jumped into this needless fear-mongering. This is the kind of fear-mongering that people use when they're trying to pit one group of people against another, when they're trying to find a punching bag. Just a few years ago, people fear-mongered about gay and lesbian people, but their acceptance is skyrocketing, and that fear-mongering just doesn't work anymore. Look, all I can do is tell you our story here. Here at North Haven, we're blessed with several trans people who worship with us frequently. And one of them, Pam, is a faithful volunteer. She's a Sunday school teacher and VBS volunteer with our children. She also volunteers for causes of social justice. She prays with us and worships with us every week. And she'll be our summer Sunday school superintendent. And yes, she uses the bathroom with us, although I've never checked on this. And you know what? Nobody's ever gotten freaked out about that. My friend Morgan Guyton calls this kind of fear-mongering an appeal to purity culture. Again, as we've said before, that's the idea that especially young women might fall the victim to some dark, dangerous evil. Whites used to use purity culture arguments against the evils of black men. But this concept cuts across cultures and religions. In fact, if we look back at propaganda, especially during a time of war, we see this same kind of appeal being made. The Italians did it against the Americans in World War II. Take a look at this. Look at that evil American in this propaganda piece. He's both black and an animal. Two fears for the price of one. Scary. But our nation did it too. We did it to the Japanese in World War II in a picture like this. The Japanese monster come to steal our women. And we did it in the Cold War against the Russians. The truth is that purity culture fear-mongering is always misplaced fear. I tend to think that it comes from deep within our DNA, from a time in our cultural history when there really were dangers and there really were predators. And we collectively would gather together for shelter and security. And in that time, eons ago, of natural predators that might have actually eaten us, being afraid of outsiders perhaps did keep us safe. But purity culture fear-mongering is always misplaced today. What it does is take our eye off the ball. It gets us to focus on false fears instead of real dangers that might be around us. And that gets me to Texas A&M football great Johnny Manziel.
Disclaimer, Eric Folkerth is a proud graduate of the University of Texas at Austin and has been known to tease Aggies unmercifully. Any resemblance of this story to actual Aggie jokes is purely unintentional.
Last week, Johnny Manziel appeared in the Dallas courtroom of one of our friends, Judge Rob Conyers. He was there to answer domestic violence charges. Now, that would have been an interesting story enough, but it was a line buried in that story that really grabbed my attention. In the story in the Dallas Morning News, it was said that Judge Conyers had 17 other defendants in court on domestic violence that day. 17. So I texted Judge Conyers to ask him, was this a busy day in your court, 17 cases? And he said, actually, Eric, it wasn't a busy day. It was a light day. Judge Conyers told me that on a typical day, he's dealing with 2 to 3 times more cases than that. So that got me thinking about the real dangers out there. On their website, our friends at the Genesis Women's Shelter would remind us of this, that on average, 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. An intimate partner, somebody they know, not a stranger in a bathroom. 2 years ago, the Dallas Morning News ran this stunning series where they investigated and profiled 39 murder victims of domestic violence in North Texas. 39. That's why in the bathrooms of North Haven, we do actually have some information for people. Not about the dangers of trans people, but about the very real dangers of domestic violence. Many churches have these kinds of helpful cards now that a victim of violence might take to help them reach out and get help. And on our card, we acknowledge that domestic violence knows no gender or orientation. There's male on female violence, male on male violence, female on female violence. So yes, to get us back to the issue of fear-mongering, there are real dangers for women and girls in our society. They are in far more danger from someone they know, someone in their own home, and not from trans women and men in a public restroom. So politicians and pundits, stop with the fear-mongering. Jesus reached out to a lot of people that society despised. Samaritans, tax collectors, Gentiles, sinners, women, Roman soldiers. Jesus, as our North Haven welcome statement says, broke down the walls that divide us, welcoming in all people, whoever we are. So the next time somebody fear-mongers you about a public restroom, remind them that they are in far more danger from some guy like Johnny Manziel than they ever would be from some woman like Pam. Stop the fear-mongering. Spread love and acceptance. Hope to see you Sunday at North Haven.